Good morning, everybody. I'm so sorry that I realised that I didn't get a chance to do this last week when I would planned to do it for our instructor special about helping clients build better backs. Something that I think would be an amazing theme for you for your fitness Pilates sessions, whether or not you ran that as a course, whether or not you ran it as a special, maybe if you're doing a Fit Mind, Fit Body day like I do, a holistic day, you could put this on as a special. But I think it would work awesomely as maybe a 4-week or a 6-week course that people could sign up for, whether or not you deliver that live or actually online. I think it's really valuable. I'm doing a session this week, actually, Fitness Pilates, build your posterior chain. So all of the exercises that I'm going to do in that session would be applicable for what you're going to do. And helping your clients kind of build better backs. But also I want you to think about, the structure of that session, not just focusing on strength work, but also focusing on mobility and release work is really valid, really important. So if you think about, full mobility of the spine, think about trying to make sure you include moves in all 3 planes of movement. So extension and flexion. So from a standing point of view, that would be your baby back bend with your roll down or a standing cat to cow. Your rotation, so any spine twists or any opening rotations, and then lateral moves as well. That would be really, really valid. When you come down to the floor, if you think about the mobility moves that we do naturally in fitness Pilates, things like thread like a needle, brilliant mobility for the spine twist seated, again, brilliant mobility, side lying open door, cat to cow, again, fantastic, swan dive, would be fantastic as well. So including these mobility moves as well as your strength moves. And then when you're thinking about your strength moves, you want to include obviously all your posterior chain moves. So all your variations of Superman, really, really worthwhile because they're going to help to really strengthen that back, but in a really strong position, that you've got that balance element, you've got that core stability element in there as well. Many people find that being on all fours much more comfortable than laying on the floor. But then if they can lay on the floor, your prone work, so your VW, otherwise do that kneeling. Your square, again, otherwise do that kneeling. Back extensions, which will be really, really valuable. Swim legs, so not lifting the upper body, just doing the lower body, your swim legs from there. Again, you could do that standing or kneeling if they can't do it laying on the floor. And then when you start about thinking about turning them over, brilliant mobility as well, but also strength work for the glutes, shoulder bridge, because with the back, you need to remember that the glutes play such a huge role. And if somebody is wanting to build a better back, they really need to help strengthen these glutes as well. So your shoulder bridge variations, maybe single leg where you're firing up the glutes in that position, or just, shoulder bridge coming up and then doing your glute squeezes, adding in things like activation band, adding in things like mini ball in between the knees. All of this is going to be great to help to strengthen the butt, strengthen the back of the legs, strengthen the back as well. And then maybe adding in a little bit of knee rolling on a low level, so feet on the floor for that back mobility. And I think if you ran this as a course, then what you could always do is start off with all of these moves in the first session, but just do them at a really base level. You could bring Superman as well down on the floor into swimming, but bring everything right down into a real base format. So basic level. And then over the weeks, keep the exercises the same, but build on those exercises. So start to progress them, or if they don't want to progress them, if progressing them isn't appropriate, spend longer. Time under tension is a great way to overload and progress your participants without having to make the move harder. So starting to progress them, with their complexity, or maybe adding in upper body and lower body, maybe adding in equipment. So for your prone lying work, adding in an activation band around the thighs, or adding a mini ball in between the ankles and lifting up or squeezing that. For your Superman, adding the activation band around the thighs, or adding a big Dynaband under the hand, so they're getting more upper back work. For the VW, adding in the Dynaband again for that one would be really good. So I think all of this could be a beautiful course. And then within that, depending on your skill set, you could add in some extra information about reducing inflammation. You could add in some extra information about diet and nutrition and how that massively can affect back pain. Obviously, if somebody's got a highly processed diet and they are overweight, that's an excessive amount of excess pain or strain on the back, which potentially could cause pain. So again, by reducing their body weight down, reducing inflammation, improving their hydration, and improving their diet, adding more protein into their diet, not only is that going to help them reduce weight, but it's also going to help them strengthen their bones. And we want to make sure that those bones, especially within the vertebrae, are really, really strong. Now, you actually lose your blood supply to the discs in between the vertebrae after the age of 8 years old. I know I've said this before. It's crazy to think it, but when you're still a child, it starts to reduce. Obviously, it doesn't all of a sudden just go, but over the years, it reduces down, a little bit more, a bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. By the time you get to your 20s, then essentially most people have got a very minimal amount of blood flow going to those discs in between each vertebrae. So how do they stay healthy? How do we stay, being able to walk and stand? Well, it's movement. So without that natural blood flow going there, the way you can increase the blood flow to those discs in between each vertebrae is through movement. Every single joint in your body, including those slightly movable joints of the vertebrae, need compression, decompression, and movement every single day in order to keep them healthy. So by movement alone, we can help to increase the amount of blood flow going to those discs, to keep those discs really healthy, to keep you being able to move and be mobile. When someone reduces the amount of movement they do, they're at more of a risk of those discs becoming degenerative, and essentially the spine to then fusing. And I actually know somebody who's not an instructor, who unfortunately is quite overweight, and they spend a lot of time seated. They do a seated job. They do a seated kind of pretty much lifestyle. They really are not active at all. And unfortunately, the discs have degenerated so much that their spine has become fused. And when they spoke to their GP and their osteopath about this, and they sort of said, why has this happened? And they were like, well, you've made this happen, unfortunately. As harsh as that is to hear, it's true. And sometimes we have to be cruel to be kind, in order to make people realize that this is serious. So think about maybe putting together a package for your clients, or, whether or not this is something you wanted to add extra, within your online studios, or as a live course that you could run for your participants once a week, for 4 weeks, for 6 weeks, whatever you want it to be, including all of these fantastic mobility moves and strength moves, starting them at a base level and building them then up over the weeks. Maybe include a talk on nutrition and reducing inflammation and reducing body weight and improving the amount of protein in their diet to be able to improve their bone health, and also the importance of reducing inflammation and increasing hydration, again, to keep those discs really nice and plump and full, and also increasing movement to increase that blood flow as well. So I really hope that's helped. Like I said, the posterior work that I'm going to do on Wednesday morning, Fitness Pilates class, will literally include all of those exercises. I've done talks in the past on reducing inflammation. I've done talks in the past about bone health. So feel free to utilize all of that. You can just go to the magnifying glass in the group, put in inflammation, and then essentially all those videos will come up. You could put in bone health, and again, all of those videos will come up. And you can use any of that information to reiterate that to your clients. I think something now would be amazing. This time of year is a great time. People have had Christmas, they've got over that January slump. It's, becoming lighter in the evenings, lighter in the mornings. People want to be a little bit more active. They might be looking to sign up for something. And back health is so popular. There's always classes that, if you advertise for back health, they are going to definitely be busy. So, bringing this in at this point of time, or maybe running this, you might be thinking, I could run this for March, or I could run this, again, depends on how much time you've got available. But you could put together something maybe for after Easter as well, which could be really, really effective. And don't think that this will just be a one-off. This could be something that you deliver maybe every quarter or term time, and get people to sign up again. And it doesn't have to be new information. We're not trying to recreate the wheel. We know that most people, they can't adhere to absolutely everything the first maybe 4, 5, 6 times that they do something. So, this could be an ongoing course that you run. And if someone wants to keep re-signing up for that, fantastic. Let me know if there's any questions, gang. Otherwise, have a fantastic rest of your day, and I hope that helped.